about 4 years ago, we were starting to look at our new strategic plan. And one of the things that we talked about was, what is it that we want to do? What do we as a school division want to promote? And how can we best put that in just a few short words? And so it became every child, every day, whatever it takes. And so at first it was our slogan, but now it really has become our work. It has become what we do, who we are. And I'm so gratified when I go into schools and people are talking about children and the supports they need, the learning that they need, but they're talking about it in terms of the individual child.
I think everyone in this organization can cite our vision and they believe in it. And I think that's the difference. It started with reform work that we initiated about 6 or 7 years ago. We actually call that initiative Compass, and it's guiding students in the right direction. It's multifaceted in that it includes making sure that each high school student, beginning actually in the 7th grade, has an individualized plan, a personalized learning plan around them based on career pathways. We also made sure all of our high schools had career academies. Students are assigned mentors who need extra support. And I think this was the work that started making sure that students felt connected and that we had a rigorous and relevant curriculum.
When I first started tracking, we were right at 18%, which absolutely was not acceptable to anyone. So we started putting some measures in place. And then when we really started honing in on what was happening, realized that we really needed to put some supports in place. Very early on, we put in a process where if a student started experiencing increased number of absences, there was an alert that went up in the school. And so it meant pulling in some outside resources, maybe the school social worker, to go out and try to find out what was going on, try to contact the parents. So that got us a little bit better, but it still wasn't enough. And so, we went from 18 to 15 to 12, and then 9. And so now we're starting to think, what else do we need? So we started looking at what kind of support personnel do we need? And that was when we started looking at the graduation specialist. And that's when things really started turning around for us.
We have the Comprehensive Compass initiative that addresses students who are in the pipeline. But if there are students who leave for whatever reason, life happens, gets in the way, and students leave us, we have 2 graduation specialists that go out and actually recover students to help them find their way back and to make sure that we can serve their needs. And that's multifaceted as well. It may be virtual courses. We partner with WHRO, as a matter of fact, to offer quite a few courses. NovaNet, which is another online provider that our teachers use. So there are a host of ways that we can connect with students. Many of them are very close to graduation. They need to recover many times just some courses that they've missed. And so we selected, we think, 2 people who have passion and extraordinary ability to reach out and connect to students who, many of them want to finish their education, they just don't see the route. Dana and Keisha Samuels is the other graduation specialist. They're able to help kids see those connections. They're able to help them see that path.
I am one of 2 currently graduation specialists, and my job is to work very closely with what we term at-risk students, students who are at risk or in danger of not graduating on time. And of course, the position was created in a sense to help increase our graduation rates, and of course at the same time helping to decrease our student dropout rate. And like I said, we work very closely with the term grads, the students that are trying to reach that June graduation date. We also actually work very hard in finding students that have already dropped out of school locating those students and bringing them back to education, whether it's a high school diploma or a GED.
Did we do that packet, all that work that he gave you?
Regular basis, I've probably got anywhere from 50 to 100 at each high school that I'm involved with. There's probably 10 or 15 that just contact me every day through Facebook and text messaging, and they text message me at midnight. I wake up in the mornings to get ready for work and there's like 6 text messages, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. But I'm glad that they're comfortable with me, that they know that they can do that and that I will respond to them. It is a challenge, but it is one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, because the students that we work with, they appreciate everything that we're doing. They realize, that they are just very close to not making it. They really appreciate the fact that we break it down. It's either this or it's this. It's your decision. We're going to tell you exactly how to be successful, but it's up to you. And they really do appreciate being real with them.
A typical morning for me, as an educator, you have to be flexible. So I may start out saying, okay, we're going to have, our on-time graduation meeting, and then I'll get a call from a parent or a student will send me a text, and we just kind of go from there. But it's essential to me in the way that I work with my 2 schools to do a thorough assessment of what the situation is with the students that we're serving and those families. You don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to drop out of school. So you have to thoroughly assess what led you to this place. And so a lot of my job in the beginning of the day is just assessing, okay, prioritizing what's most important, but also assessing what the current situation is, and then just following through on those plans, be it meeting with a student, be it meeting with a family, be it meeting with one of my teams, be it hosting or facilitating a senior meeting with students, linking them with some community resource. It's just it's a very fast-paced environment that you have to be able to adapt to any environment, to any situation that presents itself to you.
You're doing English.
We never know from day to day what we're going to experience, what's going to be dropped in our laps. But I can tell you that on a day-to-day basis, I am very excited, anticipating what the next phone call or the next text message will bring. Because it truly is, I think, the best feeling, the best moment in this entire process is when the kids that we've been working so closely with, these young students, these young men and women, the best moment is when they walk across that stage and their principal hands them a diploma, and then they just walk up and they embrace you, and it's just like, oh. It makes it all worthwhile. It really does.
The school is only 50% of it. I need the support, I need the buy-in from the parents or the guardians or whomever to be on board with us in what we're trying to implement to ensure that the child is successful with graduation. So it's imperative to me to meet with parents. So we do know that research tells us that relationships are key. So if I can make a connection with that family member or that guardian, then half of the battle is won. Then it's just really reinforcing what it is that you're trying to say and helping them to see that it is possible. Because a lot of times our parents don't believe that it's possible either.
Look this way, extra credit.
Really do feel like that's one of the pieces that we're losing in education and that we're trying to get back, is that the relationship piece. We tend to be so caught up in testing, and we over-test the students so much, and they just get so sick of it, and you really do lose that relationship piece. But if you just step back and just ask 30 seconds of questions, 30 seconds, you can't give somebody 30 seconds, 30 seconds of question, you will find out a lifetime, a wealth of information about these students.
And if I can do sometimes it's just as simple as doing a home visit and letting them know what their options are to get them back on track, then I'd rather do that preventative work than to wait until their senior year, and then we have a much bigger problem. So I never turn any student down. It does add to the caseload, but that's okay, because if we can catch them early, that's the goal. We want to stop being reactive and start being proactive.
Yeah, I never had a chance to, cause she was gone for like 2 days when I was posted up.
Believe it or not, a lot of what I do when I'm looking for dropout students, I do a lot of investigating on Facebook, social media. I was able to get a hold of this one young lady who was 19. She has 2 children. And she responded to me, and she wanted to come back. She was so close to finishing, but you know, life takes priorities. You know, priorities sometimes in these kids' life, just the everyday things that happen to them, and she wanted to come back, and we said, "You're gonna come back." And she actually was homeless, so we were able to bring her back, found her a place to live. I transported her all over Newport News, picking up her items that were kind of scattered about in different people's places. We provided her with clothing. We basically got her life in order so that she could focus on finishing school. And in that process, we build amazing relationships with these students.
I had a young lady at Phoebus High School who was 20 years old when she decided to come back to school. And we were able to assess her and come up with a plan and identify what are some of those barriers. And she had some huge barriers. I mean, she was homeless for a time, and she was just in some really bad situations. So we were able to identify what those barriers were and get her on track, and she was successful in graduating.
I have a young lady who right now, amazing young lady. She walked out of school her junior year, walked away from Hampton High School. She was done, she'd had it. She was getting suspended again, and life was just complete turmoil for her. Her mother was sick, and it was just one thing after the next. Well, last year, in I guess about October, she called the principal at Hampton High School, Miss Chambers, and said, "I'm ready to come back." And she came back and worked like no other student I've ever seen worked so hard, and struggled with her SOL tests, and was, at the school until 9:30, 9:45 at night, finishing these tests, and she had one left to go, and the night before graduation, passed that last SOL, walked across the stage. Next thing we know, she's calling me in September, or actually in August. She's gotten accepted into HU and is now going to Hampton University.
We are vested in making a difference, not only while they're here, but also as they transition out of high school.
The word is getting out there that, they don't have to do it on their own anymore. There are people out there that can help them now and really put their whole educational piece in perspective for them.
We love what we do, we're passionate, and we're going to continue to make a difference in the lives of the students that we serve.
Our superintendent said, every child, every day, whatever it takes. And we all sort of know that. But now it's just the expectation that you will reach out. The children will be at school. And if there's children at school in some form, then what's up to us is figure out where that child is best placed. It may be in a career technical education program, it may be in an alternative setting, it may be in a regular school. But what we want the children to understand is that the reason that they're in school is to become better people and to be prepared for life after high school, life after childhood.
Right this moment over at Phoebus High School, we have a group of young people that are in the Robotics First competition. And I can't get them to leave that school. They won't go home. They're there all night, they're there on Saturdays, they're there on Sundays, because they're so engaged and they're so wrapped up in this problem solving. And so CTE becomes that kind of opportunity for young people, helps them to see the connections to life beyond school, to perhaps some special interests that they have, or a career that they want to pursue. It helps them understand why learning math is important because of the application in a particular career field. And so it's very important in Hampton City schools, and we have begun to set up a number of career academies at our high schools to help further focus and put that rigor in that we all know that our students need.
All 4 high schools have a career academy. Phoebus High School will be working with one around engineering. They have a large engineering component now with robotics with the Center for High Technology. Bethel High School is currently a career academy around health sciences, helping young people. And young people in our school system can apply to attend these career academies no matter which high school they are zoned to attend. Is based on their career interest. We are working at Kecoughtan High School around one for the fine and performing arts, and that's in development, and we're working with one at Hampton High School around international business.
I work with our Peninsula Council for Workforce Development, our Hampton Economic Development, our local chambers of commerce, community college, and other school districts so we can have alignment inside of our classrooms. So when we have a career and technical education course, then it is aligned somewhere in our local industry, preferably with a high-wage, high-tech, high-paying job of some sort. We have a local shipyard. We also have a lot of ship repair, manufacturing. We have Cannon, Virginia. We have Halmet, Alcoa Halmet, and others in precision manufacturing, engineering, technology. Junior ROTC program, developing young leaders for the world. If we take all of the children that graduate, about 80% of them that had one or more CTE courses tend to go on and be successful in whatever they choose. They set goals. If they go to college, they tend to finish on time. If they go into the workplace, they're tending to be better prepared for the workplace. They go to a community college or an apprentice program or another training program. They generally will complete on time and become better people, simply because we expect more than just skills out of them. We expect them to write resumes. We expect them to dress appropriately and teach those workplace readiness skills, so important. Back in the day when I was a child, the vocational programs that were more geared to supplying a machine operator, a headlight installer, someone that can turn a wrench. Today, you have to have a skill, you have to have the academic and the technical skills. The workforce doesn't need you if you don't have both. So having our partnership with the Peninsula Council for Workforce Development, with the Chamber of Commerce and so on, the Youth Career Expo we have each year, where we try to have all of our students, seniors, attend. Basically, they would bring resumes, dress for an interview, have a mock interview from a real employer who gives them feedback. Then they go through a trade show, recruiting, we call them Worlds of Opportunity, and then a seminar taught by an industry representative on some skill, money management, whether it's STEM, that sort of thing.
Then we've also put some support pieces in place, like our HERE initiative. HERE means I'm here, and I'm here ready to learn. And that is such a dynamic process because it's not just the school system. It is all of our community partners, to include social services, the court system, community services board. We all came around the table because each one of us serves families in different ways, but we weren't talking to one another. And so there was a lot of duplication of effort. We weren't sharing information. We do now. And because of that, we have been able to affect much better numbers in attendance. Also have the YPET program, and that's Youth Parent Empowerment Program. And again, that brings almost the same group of people around the table, but when a family's in crisis, we have to get that family stable so that the child can be stable in school.
I think, working with a school that is challenging, for example, Phoebus High School, where they were able to in a year, come from a 79% rate to 85%. That's exciting. That's in terms of on-time graduation rates, working with schools that many will say, there's no way, and you prove, yes, there is a way, and that's by working every day with individual young people to help them achieve their dreams.
I know, for instance, in our graphics program at Phoebus High School, I saw a child sitting at a computer and he kept moving his head, and I asked the teacher, what's going on there? He said, you won't believe it. He said, beginning of the school year, he was my worst kid. I was just assured that he would be a dropout. I showed him how to use this software, I showed him how to use this machine which does embroidery. He was working on a customer order, and we prefer to use an enterprise system where the children have real customers and this sort of thing, when possible. And this kid owns this machine. He's listening for a sound the machine makes to change out a thread, while he's working on another customer's project with a third customer's project in queue. That was a few years ago, about 3 years ago, and from what I understand, that child stayed in school, graduated, and he's now at the community college earning an associate's degree. To me, that's the story, and we see that story repeated time and time again.
We have a school, Moton, that's nothing but preschool children. I call it my happy place because whenever I'm having a bad day, that's just a wonderful place to go because the children there are so engaged in learning. And it provides that very early intervention, early learning that prepares them for going into kindergarten and first grade. We want all of our children to be strong readers by third grade. And certainly having this early childhood program gets our students ready for that. As a matter of fact, as we've watched the results of our young people as they go from our preschool program all the way through third grade, they are outperforming other young people who haven't had such an experience.
Currently we serve 617 4-year-olds. And we have a partnership with the community as well as serving children within our district. Identified through an eligibility process, we register those children first and inquire information, and then we administer a test speed dial assessment, and we use that to look at the readiness skills and determine, using that information and the information parents provide to us, and determine who's eligible for the program. We had a whole gamut of at-risk factors, things as severe as homelessness, or it could be a single parent family. And we do look at income, but that's not what this program is based on. There are many, many issues that we outline in our eligibility criteria. We have standing waiting lists at all of our sites. And unfortunately, when you don't have the money available, you're limited as to the services that you can provide. But each year we keep a waiting list of well over 100 plus families who are interested and have been deemed eligible, but we just, can't serve them all. What our data shows us currently is that when we look at the children who have been students in our pre-K program, we look at their SOL scores. They are scoring as well as or better than some of the children who have not had a pre-K experience. We also closely looked at the scores that were advanced scores beyond the 500 in our SOL scorings, and our children are scoring well beyond and into those advanced placement scores, so we're very thrilled about that. So it shows us this early work that we're doing definitely has a positive impact on learning in other areas of those children's lives and their families. much as we are able to expose them to when they are this little, the better. Because once the brain receives it, it hangs on to it until it's going to use it until a later time. So that's why we know what we do is extremely valuable. Because when we look at these little faces, we don't just see little faces, we see little brains and all that's happening upstairs in those little brain cells. So that's extremely important to us.
Data has already shown that the young people who participate in preschool in Hampton are on grade level by grade 3. And that's so important as it relates to on-time graduation work. You don't have to work on closing that gap. There isn't a gap to close. And if we can be preventive, I think it's worth a pound of cure. So it's very much a part of what we do in Hampton, along with making sure that students have good transition between preschool to kindergarten, between 5th grade to 6th grade when they're going to middle school, and between 8th grade to 9th grade when they're moving on to high school. 5th graders actually take a trip to the middle school, and they're able to see a day in the life of a middle schooler. And so it dispels the myths that, it's all big and scary. No, it's not. It's manageable, and they become part of their middle school prior to actually going. And we've received a lot of good reviews about that. That made a difference. Students who are at the middle school are able to serve as mentors and really tell about their experience in the middle school. With high school, we actually provide a week-long transition where students are able to come for a week and see some of the skills that they'll need to maintain during the summer, so there isn't that attrition of skill loss during the summer, as well as meet some of the upperclassmen who will serve as their mentors, get some of that school spirit. They leave that week with a t-shirt because they're now a member of that school community.
On paper, the state recorded graduation rate was in the 70s when I arrived here. One of the first things I realized was that a very key piece of what every school needs to do is have good data going in, and so they have good data going out. And so we worked, as a principal, I worked very closely with my now on-time graduation clerk and my data processor about when we register and withdraw students, making sure that we have every piece of information correct. What school they were attending, what state they were attending, what was the address they were moving to. And what that did was it helped us track students better. At the same time, we also had to change procedures of attendance. And a child would miss 15 days and nobody, at 15 days we just dropped them. Well, the intervention had to happen much, much sooner.
What is self-torture?
When a student fails 5 or 6 classes their freshman year, they're really on track to then dropping out. And so this faculty I've been just very fortunate that they understand and recognize the need, and so that they have put in interventions in place to catch kids early on and to allow them to make up work. They see work sort of like taxes. The government doesn't let you out of paying your taxes, right? And so the idea at Hampton High is we're not going to let you out of not doing your work. And so at some point, pay me now or pay me later. We tried to do remediation and recovery within the building, within the day, because students who have challenging home lives do not like to stay after school all the time, where they're needed at home. And so we built remediation and recovery into the day. So we've really worked to kind of, we got you here now, let's get her done type thing. We call it a race, and that they can come back and attend school extra hours to make up some of the hours they've missed. I've been very blessed to work in a school system that has provided some alternative learning options for kids, so the NovaNet program has been very important. You really have to approach each child as an individual and say, okay, what's going to fit right for this kid? And what can we do that, of course, won't compromise our ethics, but what can we do to make this work for them? If we have a kid that's supposedly at school and we can't find the school, you'll see emails between teachers, have you seen my student today? And that collective looking for kids and saying, okay, you're supposed to be in class, I want to see you now. And so we're very lucky to have that. The faculty does duty, so kids can't wander the halls, make sure they're in class, so every faculty member participates in doing hall duty. So it's a powerful message to kids that we expect you to do what you need to do. We have a guided study program here. We had study hall where 50 kids would just sit, and wasn't a real effective process. And so our assistant principal here designed a guided study based on sort of the learnings of professional learning communities. And the students do career exploration, problem solving. They do a number of instructionally related things to help them with organization learning. But that guided study is an intervention. It has a teacher that nags them, where's your work, where's your work, where's your work, for all their classes. But then it also helps explore what do they want to be and what do they want to do. And so I think that that's another piece of it. Along with the plans that guidance map out early on, I think it gets kids kind of focused where they want to go. Each kid is different. I'm not here to should on people. The only thing I'm here to do is that you have sent your child to my school, and my goal is to get them the best possible education and get them done so they're not sitting on your couch eating chips when they're 18 years old. We have a facilitator, we have a clerk, and I have a graduation specialist. And I have a team, those three, along with my dean. And they are my, they're the nucleus of our group. All working together to make sure that all students graduate from this school on time. And so, but you really do come up with every child every day, whatever it takes. And, if that means giving a kid an SOL and you're here until 9 o'clock, well, then so be it. If they have to, come in on a Saturday and do NovaNet all Saturday, then. So it's important to build try to build real positive relationships and real strong relationships, that we are on a mission together, that we want your child to graduate and we want to help you. And to try not to lose patience. I have learned a lot working with students, ESL students, that it's not uncommon for them just to be taken out of school or to suddenly move. And it's important to keep that real strong rapport with them. And it helps that there are multiple conversations that happen in this building that they come to me and say, okay, Ms. Chambers, are you aware of this student has not been coming? I'll give you an example. I have a wonderful security officer here, and we have a great kid who's a senior here, and his family's been displaced, and they've been in Newport News. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. And he was afraid to tell me because he was afraid I would say you can't graduate from Hampton High School, and that's all he wants to do. He wants to graduate as a crabber. Well, he never had that conversation. So the security officer says he has A's and B's in all of his classes, but are you aware of how many absences he has, Ms. Chambers? And I said, well, I knew he was up there the last time I checked his progress reports, and they go, no, it's bad. And so we had a collective conversation. So the word got out. The security officer sent him a text message and said, you have to see Ms. Chambers before you come to school, first thing in the morning. So he gets in here, and I said, well, what's going on? He's like, Dad lost his job, he had to do Newport News. And so the conversation was like, okay, so we get you a bus. Let's just get your bus to school. And then the security officer was like, well, I only live 5 minutes from your house, I'm just gonna bring you to school. But it was that kind of discussion to get, and he was like, really? And it was like, yes, that it's not okay. And if you miss too many days, then we deal with the policy issue. So I need you, you've gotta come to school, you've gotta graduate on time. And it's just face, big grin. He's like, this is the best news ever. It's like, yes, easy solution, but I just need to know. And so it is that whole team approach. When the teachers come to you, when the staff, the security officers, everybody's kind of keep an eye on kids. They know that all of them have to graduate.
Bridgeport Academy is for our young people who experience some problems in school. need a little time out. And then we had our Performance Learning Center, which is actually a credit recovery program, and adult ed. So adult ed also provides some services for GED testing and a number of other kinds of support measures for young people. And we had them all in different places all over the city. And so, you know, in terms of budgeting, it made sense to bring them all together to capture some efficiencies in terms of personnel. But then when we really started looking at it, it really made sense to put all these support services for young people in one place. You know, a critical piece of the success of the campus at Lee is having somebody like Myra Chambers over there, who has been a fierce advocate for young people, who has done remarkable things to help young people overcome whatever obstacles that they think will stop them from being successful in school. And so when we decided to build this whole campus of bringing all these support services together, I couldn't think of a better person to lead that than Myra Chambers.
Bridgeport Alternative Center is a center whereby students who are looking for that different type of learning environment. It's very structured. Some of our students who are out on long-term suspension are also there. Very small students to staff ratio, so you get a lot of individualized attention. They connect a lot with virtual courses as well and can tailor education around individual students. Performance Learning Center, on the other hand, are for students, again, who want that small environment. It's far less structured. It's more like a college campus. It's a virtual world. There are 5 facilitators, and that's what they do. They facilitate learning. They're able to graduate about 80 to 100 students a year. And so that helps tremendously. These are students who also are looking for alternative ways to obtain their diploma. And they have a component that also connects them to the community with internships, externships, and able to work with employers, again, to see that relevancy. Why am I doing this? You know, what are the real world connections?
When you take every single child, every day, we want them in school, so that, and then whatever it takes. If they need a different type of teaching, if they, whatever it takes to reach that child, building those relationships. And we found that's one of the key things in teaching. You've got to build relationships with kids so that they want to learn from you. We've gone to professional learning communities called PLCs. We've done a lot of training, and that looks at, there's questions that you ask that I don't know that we always did. How can you reach that child that's already gotten it? What are you doing for the child that didn't get it? What are you doing for those that are right on track? And not looking at averages, looking at every single child, so that you can make sure that somebody's not slipping along the way, and just keeping track of it. It's changing how we think, and that's a good thing, because we're looking at each child.
The whole professional learning communities, which gets teachers together and collaborative learning teams to focus on progress of individual children. And, you know, if they're getting it, what are they going to do to enhance their learning? If they're not getting it, what are we doing to make sure that they do?
We used to laugh and say, yes, we taught it differently. We taught it louder and slower the second time. So now we're really looking at lots of ways to make it more interesting, more hands-on, so kids can really get those concepts. My role in most of it is to find what is needed to help teachers be better teachers. That's where we need to make it exciting. So if they need some sort of training, for instance with the PLC, and talking about when the child doesn't get it or when the child does get it, what are we going to do? What kind of training is needed so that we know what to do in the classroom? And the Virginia Department of Ed has actually done a fabulous job of doing some tracking. We've had some people here, Paula Brown, Chris Kelly, some of the others that have worked, you know, just tirelessly to figure out how we can get to that data, and then to teach our teachers and our principals to use the data and look specifically at what things are kids not getting. We have PD 360, which is an online professional development service that's you can reach 24/7. We've done some blended classes, which you might come meet one time and then do it the rest of it online. Some of them are just all online. So we try to give a lot of choices. Right now we're doing a number of webinars for math is doing webinars. So they're just to give teachers some choices. We also look at it from another point of view, is that being the proactive part, getting teachers to be better teachers, more exciting about what they're teaching, so that kids want to stay in school, keeping them excited about learning.
We actually have Project Citizen. That's a curriculum piece in social studies for all 8th graders to begin that service learning, giving back to my community. And students love it.
All the research indicates that it's an important piece, that it does have a powerful impact. And I think what's so important about it is it empowers the young people to do the research, to identify a problem or an opportunity in the community, and then to develop a plan to meet that need and to carry it out. My job is the Director of Community and Legislative Relations, and so I kind of keep a foot in two different worlds, if you will. But the part that I'm the most passionate about, I have to say, is the community work here at Hampton. You know, we really believe that community ownership is the key to our being a high-performance school division. We have a tremendous delegation here from Hampton. I'm able to stay on top of it, legislation that's introduced, then to distribute it to the subject matter experts here in the school division, because I'm certainly not that. And then they're able to weigh in and give me back information, and then they or I are able to share that, you know, with our delegation as well, so that they're even better able to assist our school division.
We had a community priorities workshop not too long ago, and that's when we bring in all of our stakeholders, and that includes our business leaders, and we ask them, how are we doing and what can we do better? And we always get some tremendous feedback from all these groups that we then use to go back and restructure some of our strategic plan. And so with our business communities, they provide opportunities for our young people to have internships, mentorships. I actually have a group of business people that advise me, and I meet with them to see how we're doing from the perceptions of the community and business people in general.
A couple of years in a row, you know, parental involvement, increasing parental involvement was a priority, a recommendation of this community. And so we thought, well, we need to know more. What does that really mean? What are you telling us you want us to do? So we held focus groups, reached back to the participants in the Community Priorities Workshop, but also did focus groups, did surveys, and we just simply asked people, what do you mean by parental involvement and or community involvement? And what will it look like when we have it? And what are the barriers to it? And what might we do to remove some of those barriers? And we worked collaboratively with our PTA council to do that work, which was spectacular. And we learned that it was really quite simple, that if we, parents often think they have to come to school, they have to come be in the school, or they have to do something. And many of them tell us, I'm working 2 jobs, I'm, you know, pedaling as fast as I can. What do you really need me to do? So we said, you know, if you send your child to school ready to learn, well rested, well fed, if you tell your child that school is a priority in your home and you demonstrate that, if you read with your child and allow them to see you reading and knowing that that's something you value in your home, stay in contact with the school. And that doesn't mean being there necessarily. There are all manner of mechanisms to be in touch with the school. Just those very simple things that I think sometimes they are so simple they evade us, you know. But we've really, we created a flyer, We've distributed it in a variety of ways and have it on our website, just indicating to parents these are the simplest things, and when you do these things, you are an involved parent and your child can be successful in school. And our parental involvement facilitators out in our Title I schools, and they do amazing work in building relationships for their schools as well, or in coordinating the work with the partners that we're able to develop for my office. Most amazing relationship with Joint Base Langley Eustis. We have a formal adopt-a-school relationship in which their individual units have adopted individual schools and are providing all manner of support to our young people. They do things that free us up to do other things, so they help us with work around the school, but they also participate with our young people, serving as role models, mentors, tutors. When I first came into this job, the first task was to establish a faith in school partnership, and I wasn't really quite sure how to do that. So we took, as we did with the parental involvement piece, we took the time to figure out what is it that we're trying to accomplish and how might we do it, and build kind of a template so that it would be easy. And initially we did a pilot with a house of faith and a school, and we asked, what do you need and what do you have to offer or do you want to offer? And so that the work would be meaningful for everyone, that it would really benefit the kids, but that the volunteers would feel good about the work they were doing. And that first partnership, the principal at the school said, I have this after-school reading program. It is demonstrated to be highly effective. I just don't have the regular volunteers to sustain it. And if I had that, I know that my children could be so much more successful in reading. And so we reached out to the House of Faith and asked them to do this simple thing. Would you go once or twice a week for 30 or 45 minutes after school and read with a child? And people volunteered, and we tried it for a year to make sure we had it right. We developed an agreement that outlined what you can do and what you can't do, so we didn't cause any troubles for anyone, and knew what the expectations and how to organize. And it was really just a beautiful thing. And it's been going on now for 6 years, I think, that partnership, and it's still sustained. Volunteers are still reading with young people. The success has been phenomenal. But since then, I started going out and doing meetings in churches, synagogues, all kinds of houses of faith in the community to say, we know you volunteer and contribute your service and your energy all over the globe. And we know there are things that you could do right here, and we want to give you the opportunity. And oh gosh, the response was just amazing. And we let them develop the relationships based on, again, what the school needed and what the House of Faith had to offer. And that's been just phenomenal.
It's very broad-based in terms of it's not one single piece. I think it's all coming together with the compass work that we talked about, making sure that students have those connections and are able to see what's on the other side when they walk down that stage at the Coliseum.
I think the primary factor is the absolute can-do attitude and commitment to kids, to doing what's right for young people, that this team, and really under the leadership of the superintendent, has. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes. There's this mindset that we will get it done.
Let's get it done and pass the SOLs. And so I think that you just have to really be flexible in your approach. And school systems have to have as many people as they can to help.
The whole school system. We even, departments like food services look at how they can support children in schools, all right? Making sure that they have eaten. We know that if they've eaten that they probably can think better. School nurses, what can they do to help with learning for students? So everything focuses on those children and their learning.
Piece by piece, little bit by little bit. And all of that in the end makes a profound impact on helping our young children. Start little, end big.
There's nothing more in this world that I want than, to have students come back to me in 2, 3, 5, 10 years and say, thank you. That's reward enough for me. I mean, that's all I ever, I just want kids to appreciate. And then, like I said, to pay it forward, to come back and say, this is what I was doing. I was just like you. Now look at me. I think that just is just as powerful as anything else.
I think that it's imperative, if we are going to continue to be a nation that continues to grow and continues to compete in this world, I think that it is very imperative that we look at the number of students that we're graduating and the quality of education that they're receiving from that graduation. So I think that each division needs to truly look and see, this is an area, and I know everybody's budget is tight, I recognize that, but I don't think this is an area that we can afford not to invest in.
The success and the vitality of the community are inextricably interwoven with the success of the school division. So when we're good, when our graduation rate goes up, our dropout rate goes down, our kids are going to Ivy League schools, they're getting jobs if they want jobs right out of high school, doing what they want to do.
I have a lot of hope for this world because I see what these kids are actually able to do once they're given the right direction.
It really is the laser-like focus of a group of very committed individuals. Dr. Donna Woods, who leads up the secondary programs for Hampton City Schools, in collaboration with some outstanding people like Myra Chambers and our graduation specialist. It really becomes those relationships that they all build with young people, with our outside communities, with parents, that has made us successful. It's having the right people in place.